Shabbat Shalom, Kohala, Yahweh Bashem, Yahushua Bashem, Kakodash, double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them and taught us his truth. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. All right, this lesson is going to go into how the Most High is dumbing down this devil, right? He's losing his wisdom, if you will. Or once again, the Most High is setting a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. His time has come to an end. There's no more need for this devil, so the Most High is going to do away with him. All he has left is the punishment, judgment, punishment, and then banishment. Okay, extermination. So this is Jeremiah 49:7 in the King James concerning Edom. All right, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Right, the Most High is being rhetorical. Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? If you go back to that Planet of the Apes, I believe it was Battle for the Planet of the Apes with Woody Harrelson. He knew he was losing it. And it was only a matter of time before he started grunting and snorting and braying and walking on all fours again. And this is what's happening to these devils. And we're going to play a clip. And what they're going to try to do in the clip is they're going to try to defer to the end up, to Eve, and say, well, Eve will save us. And it's just crazy what we're about to watch. Let's read this first. NIV, concerning Edom, this is what the Lord Almighty says. Is there no longer wisdom in Teman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their wisdom decayed? Well, we're going to hear it out of their own mouth. Okay? Is no one left to give wise counsel? Has their wisdom vanished? Okay? And this happened before in what they call the Dark Ages. All right, let's see. It's 20, I went to 18. King James reads, this is Revelation 20:3, and cast him into the bottomless pit, Europe, Caucasus, shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. NIV, threw him into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him to keep him from deceiving the nations anymore, which he then shut and locked so Satan could not do that. And what it's talking about is the Most High turned his wisdom down, made him dumb, so to speak. So he took that wisdom away from him, okay? And all he could do was grunt and snort to communicate. Going back to what they call the caveman, which was only a couple of hundred years ago. They try to say, oh, well, this is the beginning of time, and man hadn't yet learned how to speak, and that's part of his deception. Well, I got to make you think that shit was at the beginning of time when it was only during the Dark Ages. Okay? So that's happening again, right? And these two, this is Midas Touch Channel, 17 hour, not even a day ago. And the title is Top Political Analyst Sounds Alarm on MAGA Extremism After Trump is Indicted. And really, they don't even go into that, but Trump, when they indict Trump and when they lock him in cuffs, the maggots are going to go crazy, hit the street, and use their weapon. This is what they're planning for. Now, these two guys are what you see here is Satan versus Satan. And these two guys are on the same side. What they're doing is they're explaining the dumbing down of the Idumeans and how, they fucked it up, and how if they turn over the reins at this, but they fucked it up so bad. The only one that can save them is Eve, right? Certainly not the so-called black men. The so-called black men, they're not even going to mention him one time, but they're completely ready to hand over power to their lieutenant because they know they done fucked shit up, so they done fucked up the entire world, and they're going to admit it. So let's watch this. We'll get a couple of precepts on the way out.
Alliance, shouldn't they? I mean,
and the problem here is this. What you need to do to defeat Trumpism and what you need to do to undermine this authoritarian movement is take away the material conditions that make it possible to be a populist movement. And again, I had mentioned that Bill Clinton ran on the left and the right of George H.W. Bush in '92. Trump ran to the left and the right of Hillary Clinton. He would go out and say, I'm going to get rid of NAFTA. I'm going to make sure that you get jobs. You guys have been screwed. You need someone to go in and fight for you. He didn't mean it.
He didn't mean it because these are the masters of deception. I'll say anything to get what I want and to run this scheme, right? We're out of time. Hey, he knoweth that his time is short, so he's coming down with great wrath. He knows, like Woody Harrelson, what did he do in that movie? He went rogue and got his men to follow him instead of, the rest of the army. He went rogue and was doing his own thing because he knew his time was short before he turned into a fucking caveman again.
He never once meant it, and he got in power, and he completely handed over power and wealth to the wealthy.
Well, he didn't even know what NAFTA was. He never read it.
Right, and here's the problem. The Democratic Party, because they're defending institutions, they're trying to reinstall faith in a system that everybody knows is completely flawed and unfair and unequal. And so as a result, you have a bunch of Democrats who are like, why aren't you helping us? Like, why aren't you fighting this thing? They cannot fight it because they have one arm tied behind their back. They're trying to feed people the same sort of message that people have rejected. But if you go in and you actually start to talk about changing things, making it more equal, or at least trying to move things in the right direction, you cut out the material conditions that made it possible for Trumpism in the first place. Because all of these political, everybody likes to talk about left versus right as a spectrum. It's all over the place right now. It is so knotted up in ways that, completely baffles
Confusion. Babylon the Great. Babylon, compound word Babel, means confusion on his land of confusion.
Notion.
It's like a cat's cradle of nuance, and this is why I get so frustrated as a commentator and as a migrant myself. Is that it's so childish. The debate is so childish. The offering is so childish. The language is so basic. And we thought that it was just Donald Trump who had the body of an 80-year-old and the intellect of a 10-year-old boy. But
has counsel perished from the prudent? Has wisdom vanished from Teman? These Edomites. You're talking about your fellow man right here, who they elevated to the top of the food chain. So you got a buffoon in a suit, right? Acting like he's smart at all. This nigga is eating straight McDonald's delivered from the local McDonald's right around from the White House.
So childish. The debate is so childish. The offering is so childish. The language is so basic. And, we thought that it was just Donald Trump who had the body of an 80-year-old and the intellect of a 10-year-old boy. But actually, it goes beyond that. It goes right through the GOP. And when you hear even people like Rand Paul, taking on Dr. Fauci.
That genocidalist, okay? And the thief cometh not but to steal and to kill and to destroy. Okay, now you got to go look in the mirror at what you've done. You fucked everything up. Now let's give it over to Eve because she's still going to do our bidding. We're still her God. She's going to follow us just like she did in the garden, right? But I'll be damned if we give it over to the Israelite man. which is where it's going anyway.
There's no intellect behind this. It is playground mentality. And a country like America, which has so much potential and is so mighty, needs a greater level of understanding. And do you know what my solution is? Because I thought of it the other day. I realized it when these two cases, Letitia James and Fannie Willis, the next case that's going to come up. Black women is the answer to all of our problems. Because white men have failed so horrifically over generations in America. And I really feel like that women generally, because of hopefully more empathy, more emotional intelligence, a greater understanding of the world, because they've had to play second fiddle to white men for so long.
And here goes that whole natural sodomite thing coming out. What do you talk about? You gonna give it over to women? That's all against Yahweh Shem Shai too. But our solution is to give it to Eve. No, well, why don't you just put the authority back where it belongs? No, you're never gonna do that. It's gonna have to be wrested from you. It's gonna have to be taken. The saints shall take the kingdom.
But a black woman would really galvanize all of that. I don't know if Kamala Harris is the right person. She might be the wrong black woman. But that's kind of where there will, there'll be uproar from
You hear this shit?
sectors. But in terms of bringing Antonio Guterres's dreams to reality, we need to see this across the world. We've seen it in New Zealand with Jacinda Ardern. There are Angela Merkel in Germany. There are moments where we're like, let's just let the girls' team do this, please. It's enough with the boys already.
Yeah, and
He's a feminist. Let this go. Sloppy. They gotta break this up. This is ridiculous. I suffer not a woman to teach. Okay, because she knoweth nothing.
to break this down just very quickly, one of the things about white supremacy, and particularly white male patriarchies in white supremacy, is that they're not actually productive. They actually get rid of talent and capability, and they limit the results. So one of the things that you actually can make a case to is racism actually hurts everybody, including the white people who are suffering and taking lesser wages because they are engaged in an exploitative society, right? So on one hand, the Republican Party message is this: we can't make your life better. We're not going to help you. We're only going to pass tax cuts for the wealthy. We'll make you this promise, though. We'll hurt the people that you don't like. We'll make sure that the worst parts of what is happening will fall on people who don't look like you, who don't live next to you, who don't think like you.
We'll make sure that you're just above the nigger. All right? You'll always be able to, a nigger will never be above you. How about that? And that's what MAGA is. Oh no, nigger, you're not above me. Don't matter how low I am, or if I'm grunting and snorting, walking on all fours, and eating out of my grandma's skull, you're not better than me.
People of color, immigrants, women, stuff like that. That argument can be absolutely destroyed by, hey, guess what? If you can go ahead and find it in your heart or in your mind to move past these old, outdated, absolutely absurd notions of white patriarchal supremacy, you can make more money, you can live in a better country, and we don't have to spread the pain towards one group, right? There's actually a self-interested motivation in all of this. And it so happens that white people, because they have such a hard time dealing with that notion and getting over that, they're so sort of wired for this idea of white privilege that they're actually destroying not just themselves, they're destroying their futures, their children's futures, and to go ahead and bring this thing around full circle, literally the earth.
Whoa. Is that an admission of guilt there? Well, guess what? You should be enjoying what is left of your kingdom. All right? Before them shackles hit and you're out there in that cotton field. Okay? So the white supremacists, they got the right idea. It's your kingdom. What's left of it is coming to a quick end. And in a minute, you're going to be grunting and snorting. All right. But you ain't going to be running free. You're going to be in custody, right? In captivity. And, you shall not go out and deceive the nations anymore.
And any future for the human species, simply because that absurd, ridiculous notion of white male supremacy, they simply cannot move beyond it because they're terrified of what that could possibly lead to.
Oh, let's find out what it's possibly going to lead to. Okay, that's what you're afraid of. Let's give it over to Eve, because if we give it to the so-called black man, he's going to want that payback that James Brown spoke of.
Okay, we have to finish. I'm very thrilled for this conversation. I was just thinking about Donald Trump's face when he realizes that the two people that bring him and the Trump organization down are black females.
Good enough. Well, what else?
It's like it's the perfect end to the story, isn't it? These litigators who have got his number.
Oh, I was actually thinking about that today. I'll just say this, has to be hard for him.
Yeah.
But poetic justice concerning the Trump organization.
Did you say justice? Where were we here? Okay, so here's what's happening again. Let's go back. Let's read this again. All right. Genesis 49:7. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? I would say, yeah. On that slide, that helter-skelter slide. Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit. We're in the time of the visitation. All right? Jump down to 10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. All right? We can end it right there. Or I could go to Isaiah. Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, all Israelites. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. Here's your future. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So get ready, all right? We see your downward slide. We're about to set that serious seal upon you. And we'll be celestials in the kingdom of heaven. While you'll be what? Captives. And completely oppressed. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect are edified. Shabbat Shalom.